John, I know you love Brahms. You shared your love of Brahms with me through my studies and through my years working as your assistant. We've had many Brahmsian adventures together. And you chose to open the third movement of your symphony, in the second half of our program, with Brahms Schicksalslied. And can you tell us why and what you love about that piece of music?
You're right. I love Brahms. I
Me
mean,
too.
I couldn't leave Brahms out of this concert. In my final concert, I thought, I will not show Brahms a disrespect for the great love I have for his music by not programming and when I'm doing this many composers. So I wanted to do Brahms. Remember that the audience is just left for intermission after hearing this huge sound of Psalm 150 and all of this bright energy that just goes. We need to calm down. You know, I want to start just like I started the first half. I want them to come back in from intermission, sit down, and hear something calm. So there are many pieces to choose from Brahms, and he gave us a lot of smaller works that could be done. I mean, the Nenya, I love. I considered it, but you just programmed it, or you'd just done it.
Yeah,
and so
sorry about that.
I said, Rob took that piece. But in reality, I wasn't disappointed because the Schicksalslied was right at the top of my list. And for our audience, what the Schicksalslied is about destiny. It's the song of destiny. And the poetry that Brahms chose was from Friedrich Hölderlin, late 18th, early 19th century German poet. But we need to know this, and when we approach the Schicksalslied. Brahms had just spent 3 years of his life composing the Brahms Requiem. This piece comes right after the Requiem. And the Requiem is, of course, the ultimate of Brahms, and a work that I am so grateful that many times in my life I've been able to conduct the Brahms Requiem. It's extraordinary. But many people call this the Little Requiem. Brahms is still dealing with that. He's dealing with the loss of his mother. He's dealing with various problems in his life. And you know, he never had a happy or fruitful love life. And he was a lonely man in many ways. And there was a dark side to his passion that he continually had to fight. And in the Requiem, he shows us, what is the unique thing about the Brahms Requiem is that it's not really a requiem for the dead as we know it in the Latin terms. We call it a requiem, but he wrote a work for people to deal with the issue of losing someone they love. And it is a work that lifts us. It doesn't make us sad, like sometimes the old Catholic Latin Requiem will. I mean, that has ferocious parts in it. There's nothing ferocious in Brahms. It is looking forward to the future. It's respect for the past, care for those that we mourn, but it's all about the person that is having trouble in life. When you realize that, you can understand why he decided to set this poem. And I'm going to not read the whole poem, but just the idea of it. In Hölderlin's poem, he compares the life of celestial beings, the life of the gods, with the fate of us poor mortals on earth. And this is the way the poetry talks about the life of the gods. You wander gladly in light, with luminous heavenly breezes touching you soft, like unopened blossoms flowering ever. I mean, 19th century German poetry, there it is. You know, just this unbelievable ecstasy of the idea of how a heavenly person would live. And then the second part of the poem says, there is no restful place for us on earth. We falter, we perish. We are poor, suffering mortals destined to disappearance below, to the grave.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the poem. I mean, that's sort of like, oh my God, you know. In other words, it's written by a poet who is disturbed and jealous of the gods because they don't have to deal with the fatality of dying and so forth. So Brahms has had all of this on his brain. This is me interpreting what might be in Brahms' head for 3 years now while he's been doing the Requiem. So he was taken by the poem, but he couldn't live with the fact that it ended like this. He didn't know what to do with it. But he was so taken by it. I mean, there's a record that he went out right after he was on vacation by the seaside, and right after he read the poem, he went out on a cliff at the sea and started writing ideas for the poem. But it took him, he struggled with it for several years. He didn't do it. But here's an interesting, the choral conductor who wanted to premiere this work told him what to do with it.
Oh.
So here is what Brahms wound up with. First of all, it is a beautiful opening to the second half of the concert because it sets the stage for the heavenly celestial being in their life. This gorgeous orchestral prelude that leads into the choir doing this poetry about the celestial beings. And then everything changes. And the music becomes absolutely ferocious. I mean, like this. And the choir yells and screams. This, not yells and screams, I mean, from a good singing point, yells and screams, but emotionally yells about the fact of our terrible plight on earth. But then it subsides. And the way Brahms resolves it, he changes. You're in C minor right before it resolves, and then he goes into C major. And he repeats this gorgeous opening prelude that he started the work with. And so we close with just this serene heavenly music without any voices, without any text. Originally, he was going to add the text. But when you listen to that, it just takes you and makes you remember how important beauty is in life and how fortunate we are to have beauty in life. And this is a very personal thing for me, in that this work, I can be really upset. At night, I've done this in the past. I'm in bed, I am just infuriated about something. I can't figure out how to do something. I just can't do anything. I get up and I come in here and I put on this piece. Because the opening of it calms me down. And then I'm listening to them shout about how awful things and how life is. And then you listen to that final orchestral postlude, and you can put all the trash of what you were worried about aside. Music can give us resolution to things that are bad. It can bring us back through the beauty of music into understanding we may have problems in our lives, but all the good things we have in our lives. And so that's why this piece means so much to me. But I think the audience will find it. This is the heaviest thing in the concert, you know. But I think I hope the audience will understand that, and I have somebody, maybe I'll explain it in the concert, to understand what it's telling us and what an important lesson that is. And it goes back to my belief of the importance of choral orchestral music, because we deal with poetry, and that poetry can lead us to music that brings out emotions, and if it's done correctly, that are positive for us and good for us. So I love this piece, and I hope the audience loves it.
They will love it. They will love it. Catharsis and redemption.
Yep.
That's what we're talking about.
Yep.
That human need to express ourselves, both in joy and in anger, and frustration, but then releasing that energy and allowing redemption and enlightenment to lift us up. I love that you chose this piece. I'm looking forward to having a cathartic experience with you,
Yeah.
with the concert hall.
It's the type of piece that needs an orchestra like Pacific Symphony
Correct.
and a choir like Pacific Chorale. It's not a piece that everybody can do. You need these wonderful musicians that sing and play.
And count.
Pardon?
And count.
But they are mature musicians that can express the emotion of the music. So I can't imagine somebody hearing Pacific Symphony and Pacific Chorale perform this piece, unless I make a mess of it. But perform this piece in that beautiful hall and not feel something very positive in the end.
What I love about the hall too is we're going to hear the lush coloring of the opening of the Brahms in the resonance, but the hall provides that clarity for that fast moving section in 3, with the minor section, C minor section, so that it balances that clarity with the beauty of the sonority of the piece. And I don't know anywhere else in the world where somebody will have that kind of experience.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to it.